He's an alleged mob hitman who's headed a gang of hired murderers and drug dealers, and tonight he's behind bars. The feds say Tommy Karate Pitera lived by the book, a book of murder and torture and no remorse. Robert Gilmartin has the story.
How to Kill, Volume 5. Got other volumes here.
Federal agents say an alleged soldier in the Bonanno crime family, Tommy Pitera, who goes by the name of Tommy Karate, was an avid reader of books like How to Kill, Volumes 1 through 5. They also say Pitera did more than read. A federal indictment says Pitera killed at least a dozen people, chopping up their bodies with things like this fingertip saw recovered from his Sheepshead Bay apartment.
Some implements that we would suspect of crimes, saws and knives and things like that. But booklets are very detailed and in some instances very gruesome.
Pitera was denied bond and taken to the Metro Correctional Center in Manhattan under heavy guard. Prosecutors say he was involved in drug ripoffs and murders and did a favor for the so-called Dapper Don, John Gotti, murdering FBI informant Willie Boy Johnson in 1988.
Mr. Pitera believed he was doing a favor for John Gotti with the extermination of Willie Boy Johnson, who, according to some published reports, had been an informant for the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
The next phase of this investigation shifts to the Staten Island Bird Sanctuary. Prosecutors say despite the signs, it was one of Pitera's favorite dumping grounds for bodies.
If you dismember a body, it's harder to identify if and when the parts are ever found, and secondly, it's easier to dispose of, easier to carry and hide.
Federal agents say they expect to start digging here, looking for bodies within the next few days. They say they expect to find at least 3, but they also say that Pitera is responsible for murdering at least 12. In Staten Island, Robert Gilmartin, Channel 9 News.
She gave one of the most shocking and gruesome opening statements ever heard, and as federal prosecutor Elisa Leung pointed at the accused, reputed mafia hitman Tommy Karate Pitera, she described in chilling detail the 9 murders for which he is now on trial. Said Leung, "Picture a man standing in a bathtub over a victim shot in the head. He picks up a hacksaw, puts the blade to his victim's throat and starts slicing, cutting until the head is severed from the body, packs the parts away in plastic bags and suitcases, and dumps them in the dead of night in Staten Island." That is what Pitera is charged with committing not once, but 4 times. His alleged victims were unearthed in the Staten Island Park. But now Pitera is fighting for his own life. He is the first person in New York State in 3 decades to face possible execution because Pitera is being tried under the new federal death penalty law.
Mr. Pitera will not be executed. Mr. Pitera will be acquitted of all charges. We're not thinking about death penalty. We're thinking about winning this case, and we will win.
Authorities say one of Pitera's victims was a close friend and associate of convicted Godfather John Gotti, who Pitera allegedly rubbed out as a favor to the Gambino Don. Pitera allegedly shot Willie Boy Johnson to death because Johnson turned out to be a long-time FBI informer. The man who put Gotti away, former underboss Sammy Bo Gravano, was supposed to testify at Pitera's trial, but reportedly will not because Gotti claims Pitera did not kill Johnson.
The prosecutors describe him as a murderous mafia psychopath.
It's not true. It's not true. He's talking about, the prosecution is talking about their witnesses when they talk about murderers and psychopaths. And I would say that when you see the witnesses in this case, they will make Sammy the Bull look like Abraham Lincoln.
If Pitera is found guilty, the jury will then decide separately whether he should be put to death. Ironically, the same punishment he is accused of imposing, but in his case, as the alleged judge, jury, and executioner, mob style. I'm Eric Shawn, Fox News at Brooklyn Federal Court.
Tommy Pitera's fate is being decided in the courtroom of Federal Judge Rena Raji, a former acting U.S. attorney. He was found guilty of 6 murders in furtherance of a narcotics operation, conditions that allow for the federal death penalty. After Pitera was arrested, the feds dug up the mutilated remains of 2 victims buried in a Staten Island bird sanctuary. In her opening remarks to the jury, Assistant U.S. Attorney Elisa Leung used those 2 murders to forcefully and dramatically illustrate why she said Pitera deserved execution. While one victim was forced to watch, she said, Pitera shot the other 7 times, slowly. She deliberately counted each shot, 1, 2, 3, and so on, while looking each time at a different juror until the impact of those 7 bullets registered. Then she said Pitera shot the other victim 7 times. All the defense could do was call 4 relatives as character witnesses. Pitera's lawyer told the jury they had an alternative to the death penalty if all 12 did not agree on the death penalty.
The option of life without parole, life without possibility of release on parole. And I think given that option, a jury should be very reluctant to impose the ultimate sanction.
In the event the jury votes thumbs down and Pitera gets the death penalty, there is some confusion because Congress made no provision for what happens for someone who gets the federal death penalty in a state that has no death penalty. Probably Pitera would be transferred to another compatible state and then executed according to the manner that state normally uses. Pablo Guzman, Fox News, New York.